Yeah, I know I'm bad at this. Okay, so like the other two update videos, this one is going to be off script and just talk about general updates to the North America video project that's taken almost 3 years to finish. If you haven't seen my other two update videos, you should skim through those because I do talk about a few decisions I've made on what things I'm going to simplify and focus more on. As much as I want this project to be perfect, it won't be, and this is taking way too long. But in the meantime, here are some updates on the project. Like I mentioned last video, in the fall, around October, I went full time for YouTube, which was great. I basically spent the entire fall working on videos for the main channel. Just because going from two jobs to one and making up that uh, financial gap and making sure I'm financially stable to keep doing YouTube full time, I wanted to make sure I had some good, hard hitting videos for the winter. So I didn't really work on North America during the winter, except for those updates that I mentioned in the last video that I finished up. In February, though, I did do some updates, this time involving Greenland, making some corrections to Greenland. You'll notice the last few updates have been corrections. Yeah. Basically, once you correct one area, you start looking to nearby areas. So after I did Alaska, I'm like, oh, I wonder if I had Greenland correct. And I found more details on how Denmark colonized Greenland over time. And I figured instead of simplifying that, I could at least show the little bit of details for Danish expansion into Greenland, so I worked on that a little bit in February. But then, after not doing much in March, I finally decided to come up with a new plan. As I've mentioned in the past few updates, I work backwards on projects like these, often because I find it's easier to edit borders that are already there instead of start with a blank slate map and work my way forward. I notice like connections of events better that way, if that makes sense. And I had worked backward on this project and basically completed everything from the present day all the way back to the very late 1600s. And that's where I've basically been stuck and focusing on making corrections. But another reason why I've kind of been stuck and focusing on corrections is the intimidation of now hitting the point where I'm going to have to simplify a few things, I'm going to have to guess a few things, and there are a lot of changes happening to indigenous nations in North America across the 1600s. And ironically, it is now harder to work backwards from that because of that. So I finally decided that in order to get past this problem, I am now going to skip to the year 1500. I'm going to make a map of North America as detailed as possible around the year 1500. I actually found a really good map that showed the placement of indigenous tribes in like north of Mexico around the year 1500, which is good because often the average map will show like Native American tribes being located where Europeans or Americans first contacted them at. But these tribes move and they don't stay in the same place very often, at least not, over centuries. And so this was a map that had a mixture of historical sources and indigenous sources, and it actually shows where tribes were around the year 1500. It's probably not perfect, but at the very least, it is. It has a lot of like missing links to what I've been looking for, and so that'll help me make a proper map at the year 1500. And then once I have the year 1500, I'll now work forward from 1500 to the late 1600s so I can finally fill in that gap, fix out any kinks once I catch up to where I was at. And once the map of the year 1500 is done, I'll be sure to post that on Patreon and Twitter as proof of progress. I feel better having at least something to show for all the wait. And also, as I map everything out in the year 1500, it'll be easier to decide what I'm going to simplify versus what I'm going to be super detailed on, like Mississippi cultures. I'll try to add more details than just Mississippi cultures. but the amount of variation I've seen on videos and sources on the topic means that there's going to have to be some simplification. Same with the Mesoamerican city states outside of the Aztec and Maya, like I mentioned last video. But overall, I really want to focus on it, and I appreciate your patience as usual. Hopefully, I'll have another update video within a month or two, but until then, I'm Emperor Tiger Star, and I'll see you guys next time.